Y'all know what time it is. Time for another video. Told y'all, man, I'm gonna try to get these videos up out of here. Yeah, feel me? Y'all see it, y'all see it, y'all see it. King Von murder cases if he was still alive. Getting to this reaction. I don't know if I'm gonna call these reaction videos because we just, you know what I'm saying, we vibing and watching what I watch on YouTube. Well, not specifically this video. I ain't seen this video yet, but we watching it together. I'm watching it with y'all. Anyways, we about to get into it. Let's go.
Found his favorite female out, K.I., and trolling hard on a documentary about her to dropping 6 figures on his ops. King Von was the kind of rapper other rappers were afraid of.
He is a serial killer, and he was a demon in human form.
I was relieved for the community, man. Because he was over there torturing them guys, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man.
Bro, he was dead, bro. If he wanted you out of there, he'll go do it himself on feet by himself. He was dead.
But in reality, did Von really do it? Don't forget the rules of the streets. If you put bodies on a dead man, it's not exactly snitching because they won't be catching any jail time. With that in mind, these are all the actual bodies King Von caught back in the day, and the evidence of his involvement. No BS here. Modell. One of the murders pinned on Von after his death was the killing of Modell McCambry. It all started with Modell stumbling on the body of his cousin, 21-year-old King Doc, on April 28, 2012. King Doc had, according to his family, already left the gangster life.
Starting today, anyone can monetize with ads. As part of the
His license. He had gotten a GED while in prison and was trying to be a good role model to his younger relatives, teaching them to avoid a life of crime. However, no good deed goes unpunished. One hot afternoon in April 2012, Monroe was thirsty after painting at his aunt's building. He left the work site and walked down the block to a convenience store. That's when 4 men pulled up and started spraying. King Doc was hit, and he stumbled and fell into a patch of tall weeds in an empty lot. The police came to investigate, clean up the scene, and took off. They didn't notice him, so he laid there. It wasn't until hours later that his dead body was discovered by 16-year-old Modell McCambry. Modell, however, didn't learn any lessons from his cousin's brutal murder. At just 17 years old, he became involved in gang activity. He was posting pictures on social media with dangerous gangbangers like K.I. That's when King Von came into the picture. See, Von and the rest of Old Block had some serious beef with STL. The kind of beef that was on site. The kind of beef that led to the brutal murders of multiple gangbangers from both sides. Von took this beef very seriously, and he spent a lot of his time taunting his STL rivals online and publicly talking about his plans to slide on them. Unfortunately for Modell, he was affiliated with STL and was one of Von's ops. Fast forward to the 13th of October 2012. King Von had hopped on Twitter and posted, "Man, somebody get me real quick." 30 minutes later, he posted, "Hi," and 45 blocked me. That same night, just an hour and 30 minutes before those tweets, Modell was shot to death in the street. He was walking with a cousin of his on their way to meet a girl when someone approached them and opened fire. Modell was shot in the chest. He was rushed to the hospital but was eventually pronounced dead. Von continued tweeting about the death, relishing in the murder that he had just committed with tweets like, "Who died?" and "It's not safe around our way." All of this drew the attention of the Chicago police, who picked Von up for unlawful possession of a firearm and warned him to be careful. Even though the police couldn't get enough evidence to hold Von for the murder, the streets knew he was responsible. K.I. would quickly try to avenge Modell's death. Despite what many people think, K.I. was more of a shooter rather than a killer. She would gladly shoot at her ops and go where the shooting was, not exactly kill them one-on-one like Von would. So when Modell was killed, she went over to Old Block and allegedly started shooting, hoping to hit anybody. This led to her arrest. But honestly, it was just another day on Old Block, because none of that mattered to King Von. For years to come, he would continue to mock his rivals and disrespect Modell on his Twitter. Almost 2 years after the murder, he tweeted, "I remember Modell with the one eye from STL. It's f***ed up what happened to him. Hashtag straight suck." None of this was enough to conclusively find Von responsible for the murder. However, all that changed after his death. According to police documents, King Von was positively identified by multiple witnesses. But this still wasn't enough for police to conclusively pin this murder on Von. However, during the investigation, Von was shot and killed in Atlanta. The police hoped that this would reduce any fears of retaliation by the witnesses. After conducting more interviews, they conclusively determined
But when they told me he passed away, boy, that shit hurt me because I was really a King Von fan. Listening to King Von for real. But yeah, I was a King Von fan for real. Like, every song he dropped, I was on it. You hear me? Not on it, but I was listening to it.
King Von was the sole shooter and released a police report stating it. While Von was still alive, though, there was one shooter still gunning after him, and that was K.I. She was looking to avenge Modell's death, but faced a tragic fate at his hands. K.I. There's 2 murders the police could never pin on Von. At least they couldn't while he was still alive. One of them was the murder of the 17-year-old gangster disciple named K.I. She was tied to a street gang called STL-EBT. K.I. was rumored to be involved in the killing of an OG from O Block named O.D. Perry. Although some people like Trench's News say K.I. was never the killer people painted her out to be.
Like, K.I. then ran around, put a gun in the air, chased people off the block.
Instantly? DraftKings, you make the playoffs even more exciting.
But I ain't never heard she killed nobody, man. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Nah, K.I., that's why she dead now, man. Because people like Lil J and them and everybody else geeking them up, she killed him.
One thing's for sure, she had a deep hatred for O Block and was bent on getting revenge for her fallen friend Tuka. After all, they were the ones that killed him. All this meant was that she was one of King Von's ops. In fact, she was probably his favorite. They would have long back and forths dissing each other on Twitter and making fun of their dead homies. In fact, it wasn't all on Twitter either. It was likely their first interaction happened on September the 25th, 2012. It all started with Von bragging about catching a female op lacking and beating her up on the train. K.I., being the victim that Von was talking about, responded to the tweet, saying all she took was a couple of bruises. This would be the beginning of a back and forth that would last years. This wasn't just dissing or Twitter beef either. These two were passing actual death threats back and forth, like these tweets, where Von is telling K.I. that she better kill him before he kills her, and K.I. pretty much saying bet. There was also an almost sexual aspect to the rivalry between Von and K.I. He go from threatening her and her affiliates to fake flirting with her on Maine, like the time he straight up tweeted that he thinks he's in love, in response to K.I. talking about beating up someone from O Block, and this other tweet where he promises to treat her right if she'll be his wifey. Some people claim that Von was just trolling, that he was being sarcastic in these flirty tweets and it was all meant to make K.I. uncomfortable. But there was even more to this than it seemed on the surface. Somebody on 4chan will release what they claim were private DMs between Von and K.I. DMs that they apparently got from hacking into K.I.'s Twitter account. According to these leaks, Von was hitting up K.I. telling her that he wanted to get a piece of that. Apparently Von DM'd her talking about how he wants to nail her. When she refuses, he tells her that when this is all over, he's gonna have her. Of course, while all these DMs were allegedly going on, King Von and K.I. continued to beef and taunt each other on Twitter. After Von spent some time in jail between 2013 and 2014, the first person he tweeted at right after getting out was likely K.I. He tweeted, asking K.I. if she missed him, to which she responded, "What up, my boy? When we linking?" with 4 gun emojis. Von responded, expressing disappointment with her hostility and asking why she didn't visit him in jail. How much of K.I. and Von's relationship was actually true is highly debated. Even Von didn't like all the rumors. In an interview with DJ Vlad, Trap Lord Ross talked about one of Von's reaction to these rumors online.
There's a famous tweet that he put out that was something like, "Don't listen to what them white YouTubers say about me. You know, they don't know what they're talking about," or something.
No matter how much of their back and forth was true, it culminated in a couple of tweets from K.I. on April 11th. Tweets that turned out to be her last. First, she tweeted something ominous in the early hours of the day. In the end, we died. By noon, she tweeted what appeared to be her location. K.I. was on the 64th block of South Eberhard Avenue, only a few minutes walk from O Block. Not too long after the tweet, K.I. would be gunned down. According to a witness, the shooter hopped out of a car and caught K.I. and another man unaware. K.I. was hit 9 times and was declared dead a couple hours later. Of course, right after the kill, Von would hop back on Twitter to diss his dead op and celebrate the murder. Von would tweet that he's lost a lot of friends, so his enemies must get it. He'd go on to copy one of K.I.'s old tweets saying, "I see motherfuckers won't get the picture till they get put in the frame." Von would later tweet at K.I., "Miss my old with even more laughing emojis. King Von would end up getting picked up by the police in connection to K.I.'s murder. Of course, he would deny everything, making up an alibi about spending the time of the murder with a woman. It also helped his case that he had checked in with his parole officer just an hour before the murder. Vaughn would end up getting released the next day and face no further legal consequences for the murder. He had just beaten another murder charge. Of course, he would go on to tweet that he beat the case like Rocky and that he's showing love to everyone but the ops. Years later, Vaughn would continue to diss K.I., dropping a bar on the song War With Us about the murder. He said, put a pretty op in the morgue, call that drop dead gorgeous. Even though the police weren't able to put enough evidence together to prosecute Vaughn, the streets were already well aware of who was responsible for K.I.'s murder. O-Block veteran Jay Hood, for example, would go on to reveal in an interview many years later that Vaughn had actually confided in him that he killed K.I.
Hey, he told me, man, like, look straight ahead, man. I ran up on him, called K.I. the last one coming out of the gate.
Even though the streets knew Vaughn was responsible, the media didn't know what was going on, and that allowed Vaughn to do one of the wildest things any gangster has ever done.
You close tomorrow? You close tomorrow? I'll be there. Somebody from work.
In the history of Chicago drilling. On May 23rd, 2019, a documentary about K.I. would air, titled The Secret Life of a Gang Girl. It was a piece about the life and death of K.I., exploring what it was like to be a ruthless female gangbanger. This documentary had a few interviews, as you would expect, but one of the people picked for the interview was none other than King Von, the man responsible for her brutal murder. He featured prominently in the documentary as an admirer of K.I., someone who was pursuing her romantically, and in his words, trying to f*** her.
Yeah, I was trying to f*** her. I was like, damn, can you f*** me and shit?
The exact text was something along the lines of, when it's all over with, I'm going to get up in you or something. Does that sound about right?
That sound raw, so yeah, I'll be saying raw. Yeah, I probably did say that.
And of course, he acted devastated about the news of her death.
When you tweeted once, you said you miss her.
Yeah. Cause we used to be talking on the phone. Like, that's somebody, like, say somebody you DM and talking to. And then one day they just gone. Now you like, damn, who the f*** I'm talking to now?
Vaughn was most likely trolling the documentary crew. But if anything, it proves that the DMs between Vaughn and K.I. might be completely true. Eventually, a year after Vaughn's death in 2021, the Chicago police released documents about the murder of K.I. They had gathered enough information to prove that King Von was the person that shot K.I. to death. They gathered witness testimonies from the people closest to K.I., including her brother, FBG Butter, although Butter claimed someone else was responsible for the murder.
You gave a statement on the shooter.
Yeah. Hey, who did you see? Dark skinned man, missing tooth, birthmark, or something on his face.
Okay, that's not King Von.
It's not
At all.
Despite what he said in the interview with DJ Vlad, some say Butter's story was not consistent, and he just didn't want to give Von credit for killing K.I. Either way, the authorities gathered all the information they needed to link him to the shooting, and that was thanks to two things: Von's death and the murder of another person Von had killed before K.I., Malcolm Stuckey. He wasn't a gangbanger, he wasn't a op, and he wasn't one of the many people King Von was trying to kill. But even that wasn't enough to save him from Von's hands. Malcolm Stuckey was a 19-year-old college student. He was a college basketball player and a museum janitor. On May 29, 2015, he pulled up in a Pontiac Grand Prix to his friend's birthday party in Inglewood, Chicago. Not long after, a bullet went straight into his skull, killing him. That bullet was fired from King Von's .40 caliber Smith & Wesson, or at least that's how police tell it. So why did Von kill an unaffiliated teenager that day? To answer that, we have to go back a couple of hours. King Von, who was 19 at the time, arrived at the same party Malcolm was on his way to. It was an ordinary birthday party, and everyone was there to just have a little bit of fun. King Von, on the other hand, wasn't the kind of guy to miss the opportunity to slide up. his ops. So when he spotted two members from a rival gang at the same party, he ducked out, grabbed a friend, and told a partygoer on the phone that he'd be back and they should take the children inside. King Von was ready for a shootout. Some people wonder why Von didn't just leave and go home that day. Well, a black disciple and affiliate of Von's, Big Mike, talked about exactly that in an interview.
Everybody can walk away, you feel me? It's always about pride when you're a street. Because I don't want you to go back and tell nobody that you me at a party. You hold me at a party. You had me nervous to the point where you made me leave. I don't want you walking around talking about that. Because it's going to get everywhere.
King Von actually returned about 45 minutes later with Big Mike fully strapped. At this point, Malcolm Stuckey had already arrived and gone out to the sidewalk to smoke a quick blunt. That's when bullets started flying. One of Von's ops spotted him and Big Mike, so he started running and firing at him. Von chased him down, firing and shouting, "Why you running?" By the time they got to the front of the house, Malcolm was face down on the grass, bleeding out. But that didn't stop Von or Big Mike. They were there to kill their rivals, and both men kept shooting. According to Big Mike's police interviews, he hit one man in the foot and Von shot the other in the face, breaking his jaw. Shortly after that, the pair were back in the car making a quick getaway. Malcolm Stuckey was declared dead at the scene, and the other two shooting victims survived. At first, it seemed like King Von and Big Mike were going to get away with this murder, but 2 months later, both men were in police custody facing serious charges. King Von was charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Big Mike initially turned on his affiliate, agreeing to testify against him, hoping he could secure a deal with the prosecutors for a lighter sentence. For a while there, it looked like King Von was going to get locked up for life, but it turned out Von wouldn't be facing the consequences of his actions just yet. Big Mike changed his mind and refused to testify against Von, and none of the witnesses who claimed they saw Von at the scene of the crime agreed to come forward. Just like that, he beat the case. King Von was acquitted due to lack of evidence and was once again a free man. Big Mike, on the other hand, was sentenced to 28 years in prison for aggravated battery with a firearm. 12 of those were for backing out of his deal with prosecutors. In true King Von fashion, he dropped the next couple of bars about the whole situation in the song, "What's Next?" He said, "I ain't tell nobody I don't condone snitches. I told on me he got a longer sentence. I think they gave him 28. He rather talked than listened. Was the only one that told they killed the other witness." When it came to rapping about his misdeeds, King Von was never the type of guy to play around. Lyrics like this will have you wondering why Big Mike changed his mind and why no witnesses were willing to take the stand. As for Big Mike, he didn't end up spending the whole 28 years behind bars. He filed an appeal over the shooting, arguing the cops couldn't actually prove that he shot anybody that day. And since neither his ops nor bystanders were willing to testify, Big Mike won and got his sentence reduced to 9 years. He became a free man back in 2023. Of course, he was immediately booked for interviews. In one interview with No Jumper, Big Mike talked about why King Von never dissed Malcolm Stuckey after his death and never really brought him up when talking about his bodies.
Even the most hardened killer's gonna have some type of heart. Yeah. Dude was an innocent bystander. He ain't had to do with none of that was going on. So a motherfucker don't feel some type of way about that. I don't give no who you is, unless you just real cold-blooded like that. But if you care about your peoples and you knowing like, you know what I'm saying, them other them, but you know what I'm saying?
He is
nothing to do with that.
Maybe Von did have a heart, at least when it came to innocent bystanders. He didn't have a heart when it came to dealing with his ops, though. At least not when it came to this next body pinned on Von. P5. Another person on the long list of people King Von killed before his own death was 23-year-old P5. He was a gangster affiliated with Jarrow City, a set of gangster disciples and renegade black disciples with a territory ranging from 60th and King to 63rd and Champlain in Chicago. In other words, he was one of King Von's many ops. Even though this body was never officially confirmed by the police, it's been confirmed by multiple BDs who personally knew Von, and it's pretty much been confirmed by the streets that Von was responsible for this murder. To understand why everybody thinks Von did it, you need to understand just how much a role social media, especially Twitter, played in this gang warfare. King Von was the kind of guy to tweet about all his street activity. If he was itching to shoot somebody, he'd tweet, "Just got a gun and I can't wait to use it." So when Von tweeted, "I ain't been hanging with T-Roy like that because he's been winning. I gotta catch up first, give me till Friday." On the 29th of October 2012, this was just the start of the trail that ended with P5's murder. See, when King Von was talking about T-Roy winning, he was talking about his best friend and fellow shooter's kill count. A kill count Von would soon catch up with, because on the 30th of October, he tweeted, check the stats. Less than 30 minutes after this tweet was made, P5 would be shot multiple times in the 6200 block of South Eberhard Avenue. He was rushed to the hospital, but was pronounced dead at 9:54 a.m. A couple minutes before the recorded time of the shooting, Von tweeted, LMAO. At the time police estimate the shooting took place, Von tweeted, 45 make his ass do 40 flips. Von would spend the rest of his day taking a victory lap on Twitter, celebrating the death of one of his ops. One of the more incriminating and bloodthirsty tweets came a few days later when he tweeted, damn, Modell got killed in October and crack. Who's gonna get killed in November? Stay tuned.
They do this shit like it's a sport. What the Yo, they wow. Like, bro, this is how they live. This is how they live in Chicago, yo. Like I be around a lot of street dudes too, but they ain't living like that right there. They not sliding. They not alert. They not know nothing. You know what I'm saying? They not doing that what they doing in Chicago or anywhere else. But you know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I be around a lot of street dudes, but I don't know what they doing. But I know they ain't in the streets like that right there. Like that right there. Catch a body. You want to catch a body. Continuously talk about catching a body. I always want to catch a body, so I don't know, man. Ain't no we. I ain't saying South Carolina ain't living like that, but I ain't seen it. I ain't trying to see it, but they doing this like it's a sport.
He's never officially tied Von to this murder, nor do we have a clear picture of how P5 was killed that night. But word on the street is there was multiple shooters involved. Some say King Von, along with J Money and L.A. Capone, walked up to P5 that fateful night and started shooting. P5 tried to run away, but J Money shot him in the back and made him fall to the ground. King Von would then stand over him and shoot him multiple times in the face. But that's not all. Another thing that ties Von to the brutal murder of P5 were the social media posts made by P5's friends and family. For example, P5's cousin posted this after Von was killed. Y'all just don't know how long I prayed for this. Hashtag King Crack. P5's younger brother posted, we called too. We ain't catch the last one. I know Crack mad that we gang ain't get it. Referring to the fact that Von was killed in gang violence completely unrelated to the one that led to his brother's death. Gucci, one of P5's affiliates from Charles City, also posted when Von was killed. Long live Crack. All of this just goes to show that even if there was no official police reports tying Von to the murder, the streets already knew who was responsible from the start. Sometimes that's all it takes. Just like with this next body. FBG Duck. King Von's beef with STL EBT gang members went far beyond him personally showing up and putting bullets in his ops. According to rumors on the streets and the police, there's evidence that King Von sent goons to take out his ops at least once, and that was the murder of FBG Duck.
How crazy is it that this guy made a music video in February 2020 where he depicted himself killing FBG Duck? He says a big goofy dude missed calls on the phone to say Duck. He says Duck. The guy looks like he's killing Duck in a music video, and 6 months later, Duck's dead in the street, laid out.
See, King Von and FBG Duck were on a collision course from the start. Both men were affiliated with rival gangs, and they took their beef very seriously. The only thing between the two was violence, murder, and dissing each other's dead rivals on the internet and in rap songs. The beef ultimately culminated in one of the most disrespectful songs ever targeted at O Block. In July of 2020, Duck released the hit song, Dead Bitches. The disrespect started with the line, said I wasn't gonna diss the dead, and okay, I did it, but T-Roy and OD, them dead bitches. Right from the start, he was dissing Von's dead best friend, T-Roy, and that OG from O Block I mentioned earlier, OD Perry. OD was allegedly killed by K.I. OD was respected and a high-ranking member of the Black Disciples, and after his death, the Black Disciples renamed a portion of their hood into O Block to immortalize him. FBG Duck didn't stop there either. He went on to name other slain members, calling them dead bitches. To put it simply, this rap was very disrespectful. King Von responded to the diss with his own diss in the song, All These. He said, Tuka in my lungs. I say that every time, cause he got smoked. After which, he said this line. The FBI has since interpreted this as directed to FBG Duck. O-Block, OTF, 300, just check the stats. Said he be throwing shots. I bet he catch him back. The song was released on the 5th of August 2020. Just one day before it came out, FBG Duck and his girlfriend had gone shopping for a present for their son at the Dolce & Gabbana store in the Gold Coast area of Chicago. At 4:26 p.m., the ops called him lacking. He was assassinated by 4 people who pulled up in cars and shot him while he was shopping. He was hit 16 times in the neck, chest, and groin, severely wounding him. A total of 38 shell casings were found on the scene. Videos started popping up all over social media of FBG Duck, laid out in excruciating pain, slowly dying.
In the Gold Coast right now, they shot FBG Duck, man. I don't know who shot him, man. I just ran into this, y'all. Man, they shooting in the Gold Coast of Chicago, bro. Chicago is not a safe place to be. You cannot even go downtown and enjoy your day without violence, bro. Look at this, bro. Look at this, bro. That's a Chicago rapper, man, by the name of FBG Duck.
Police arrived at the scene, but they allegedly neglected to apply pressure on Duck. He was still alive and moving 20 minutes after the shoot. Their neglect allowed Duck to bleed out. By the time paramedics finally arrived at the scene, it was already too late. Duck had lost too much blood, and his body finally collapsed on the stretcher. He was pronounced dead at 5:06 p.m. Initially, the police had no suspects in the murder. Of course, everyone pointed their...
He could have been saved if they was a little more quicker. That's why I be praying and staying positive that I don't be involved with that street gunplay, none of that. But I will not be lacking. So I'm just saying, man, he could have been saved if they was a little more faster than what they was doing. But it's crazy, man. It's like it's a sport up there or something.
Fingers at King Von. After all, the pair had a very long and very public, almost decade-long rivalry, but there simply wasn't enough evidence. That didn't stop Von from taking interviews and talking about Duck's death, like this one with DJ Academics where he actually pauses mid-interview to laugh with his homies about Duck getting killed.
Were you saddened by the news that he was murdered?
Man, heard it. I didn't go to sleep that night. Couldn't believe it. Hold on, man. Oh, let's talk about some other shit.
You can even see one of his friends still laughing in the back. In a twist of fate, however, just a few months after Duck's death, King Von was killed. That didn't stop the police from investigating, and eventually, they found their suspects. On October 13, 2021, the Chicago Police Department announced that 5 members of O-Block were arrested for the murder. They include C. Murder, Kenny, Loss, C-Thang, and another rapper, Muwop. A 6th suspect would go on to commit suicide.
The Tribune reports it took the jury 2 days to arrive at a verdict. The 6 convicted suspects are men between the ages of 24 and 34. All 6 were convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and murder in the aid of racketeering. 5 of them were also convicted of using a gun when Weekly was shot. Prosecutors say the men targeted Weekly as part of a long-running gang dispute.
Of course, there was still more to the murder than just an ongoing gang dispute. Rumors were that there was someone behind the scenes calling the shots. Before Von passed away, he hinted that he and Duck had squashed their beef before Duck's death. He tweeted, "Me and Duck settled our differences right before he passed. We was talking about bringing everybody together as a whole and changing the community for the better. I'ma still stand on that shit. Every step of the way, I'ma be thinking of you, even though you diss my dead homies and family." Some fans assumed he was just trolling, while others thought that this was all a part of his ploy to shift suspicion from himself. Considering what the FBI would uncover after King Von's death, that just might be the case. According to the police documents reviewed by the Chicago Sun-Times, an informant told the police that someone affiliated with the Black Disciples had offered up to $50,000 to anyone who could kill Duck. The offer was later increased to $100,000. Another informant told police and the FBI that Duck had a price on his head. Although the name of the person who offered the money wasn't revealed, the informant gave him some very revealing clues about the person's identity. He claimed the person had bought custom-made necklaces for the members of the Black Disciples in O Block. And guess who was just caught online flexing the chains that he had just bought for his O Block crew? King Von. There was also the fact that Von couldn't help but take a victory lap after Duck's murder. He posted on social media, "GOAT," a few minutes after Duck's murder. And of course, he dropped some disrespectful lyrics to celebrate as well. On the song Me and Duty Lou, OTF Duty Lou, rap, "You get to collect and we'll blick you at the store." Doing hits and rides with Drakes and the Mozzie. You ever smoked a still over a body? I made $1 million off peas in the street. Put a bag on your head and you dead in a week. When it came to King Von, he outright snitched on himself about the $100,000 bounty. He rapped, "Ain't no discussion. When we touch him, they gonna have to rush him right to the hospital. That's what he get, that's repercussion. That woofing all tough and get him left in public, it ain't nothing. I gave out 100, boy, I bet they coming." In the end, all of that didn't matter anymore, as Von would end up getting killed in a rap beef that had nothing to do with his long-standing rivalry with the STL Street Gang. Now, these ain't even all the people that Von has been accused of killing. There's many rumors and many bodies that have been pinned on Von since his death. However, not a lot of people ask the question what Von's life would be like if he was still alive. For one, we know that Von wasn't the kind of guy to forgive his ops and let him go free. If the gunshot wound didn't make him consider changing his gang-banging ways, he'd probably still be going after his rivals in Chicago. Speaking of ops, the beef between King Von and NBA Youngboy, which ultimately led to his death, would probably have turned into an all-out war by now. If Von survived the shooting that killed him, some say he would have probably been paralyzed from getting shot in the spine. The diss Von would have gotten from his ops would be insane. And even if he couldn't retaliate because of his injuries, he's got people on his side like Lil Durk ready to carry the beef for him. After all, that's exactly what Durk did when NBA Youngboy's affiliates killed Von. Durk has talked about the beef many times since Von died, like in this interview with DJ Academics.
Are you calling around to the industry saying, yo, if y'all Youngboy, we're done?
You with anybody that harm my people, I can't with you.
But it's music though, and they might feel like they have a pick a side.
No, it's not music. It's fun.
But hey, King Von wasn't just a gangbanger. He was a rapper too. So what would his music career be like if he was still alive? Well, King Von was really just getting started with his rap career, and he wasn't lacking in the creativity department. According to his manager, Von had over 300 unreleased songs, or around 10 albums worth of content before he was killed. And since his death, they've released multiple songs and albums. The most recent was Grandson. The day after the album's release on July 15, 2023, Grandson went first on Apple Music's all-genre charts section. It also went 14th on Billboard's 200, second on Billboard's independent albums, and fourth on Billboard's top R&B and hip-hop albums. King Von would have been a real star in the rap scene, enjoying all the perks that come with it. Of course, that's if he was still a free man, that is. Let's not forget Von killed people and committed a lot of crimes. Here's some of the legal battles Von would have had to face. First off, he would have been put on trial for attempted murder. The attempted murder charge stems from a February 2019 shooting incident in the parking lot of the Varsity restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia. When the police arrived on the scene, they found a 23-year-old man who had been shot. The man was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but thankfully, he survived. After months of investigation, the authorities issued arrest warrants against both Lil Durk and King Von.
5 in the morning on February 5th, Lil Durk, whose real name is Dirk Derek Banks, and his co-defendant, Devontae Bennett, were seen on camera involved in shooting Alexander Witherspoon, a person police say they knew. The rapper and Bennett listened to the evidence against them in court. Police told the judge later that night the victim, Banks, Bennett, and others went to a nightclub, a gas station, and ended up in the parking lot of the Varsity. That's when Witherspoon said he was robbed and shot.
They were reportedly charged with criminal attempts to commit murder, aggravated assault, participation in criminal street gang activity, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of a
He told that nigga, man, quit talking. Be quiet. Be quiet, nigga. You talking too much. Why you talking?
by a convicted felon. Georgia's Superior Court of Fulton County issued a motion to dismiss the charges, where the DA Fannie T. Willis said the facts of this case has been reviewed and, although it appears that probable cause existed for the defendant's arrest, the decision of the district attorney at this time is to not prosecute. However, according to the Fulton County District Attorney, if the co-defendant Davon Bennett, aka King Von, had not died in 2020, he would have been indicted for this incident. And then there are the cases of actual murder. He would be battling murder charge for the death of K.I., Modell McCambry, and he probably would have been wrapped up in the murder case of FBG Duck. And who knows, maybe Von would have still been...
Y'all already know what to do, man. Hit that subscribe button. But they do this like it's a sport, bro. Like, it's a sport, dog. Like they getting money for this, like, for real. But anyway, this video will be in the link below. So y'all go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Go watch this video on y'all own if y'all want to. Show him some support. Yeah, feel me. But, yeah.